welcome to Dartmouth Castle.
Thought I'd start off with looking at a map, just showing you where we've been over the last two vlogs and where we're going in this one. So vlog number one, we started off here in central Dartmouth looking at the steps, and then we went up to the orchard overlooking the High Ferry, as you saw. And vlog number two, I took you down to way down here to Blackpool Sands, and we went for a walk following the River Black along the valley. Well, today we're going to look at the castle, which is on the promontory here, right between the two headlands. Here and there is actually another castle on the other side on Kingswear. So obviously it's very strategic, as you can see, to protect Dartmouth Harbour over here. So that's the area we're going to be looking at, and we're walking along the coastal path here out to the Coast Guard cottages.
Now, Dartmouth Castle is an artillery fort, and it was actually built, part of it was built in the 1380s. The purpose behind it is to protect the large and substantial Dartmouth Harbour, which was actually a lot busier in terms of merchant basis than it is. The port itself actually was able to hold up to 600 vessels, which is quite a substantial size, but it had a reputation for piracy and smuggling, and also there was the factions going on between the English and the French, if you remember what I was talking about on the Battle of Blackpool Sands in the last vlog. So there is a bit of crossover history between these two locations. By the 1370s, during the 100 Years' War, there was a lot of friction between the two countries. The town was a frequent target for the French Navy, and the Crown advised the town to substantially improve its defences. Nothing was done, however, until our man again in 1388, one John Hawley, who you remember from that Blackpool Sands vlog, who was also the mayor of the town. He then decided to set about doing some earthworks here at this location. John Hawley was authorised by Richard II to raise local funds to create a Fort Alice by the sea. The Fort Alice, or small fort, took the form of a small enclosure. Now, the Fort Alice, of which I'm actually sitting in part of at the moment, was built in the parish of Stoke Fleming rather than Dartmouth itself. Dartmouth Castle is actually just a mile between the sea and the town. The Carew family actually built their own accommodation in the property. In 1462, the Crown was actually paying the town to maintain a chainway across the entrance to the harbour, linking it to Gomerok on the other side, on the Kingswear side. But in the early 1480s, King Henry VII was actually really pushing for the town to do something about the sea defences because of its strategic importance in terms of merchant and the ongoing conflicts between the English. This resulted in a large new tower being built a few years later, and this had two giant, what was called murderer guns, placed alongside the actual new tower, which had substantial views out towards the sea and protected across to the Kingswear. Now, Kingswear Castle was built around the same side, really to strengthen the fortifications here in a similar way that Pendennis and St Maur's linked to protect the harbour of Falmouth in Cornwall. As we head back down towards the main body of the castle, this is the rear of the Fort Alice, and you can see from here by the scale of the seats just what a substantial structure this would have been, and with a cutaway there with a path, and you can just see on the left the remains of the earthworks, how it banks up. just walking away from the castle at the moment towards a location called Sugary Cove. Now the military side of this continued into King Henry VIII's time. In 1543 he made a project of building new defences all the way around the south coast, because he got himself engaged with a war with Spain, and this resulted in new bulwarks around the castle, new artillery being placed within the tower, and new bulwark being placed here at the Fort Alice, which we'll look at shortly. This consisted of a Lambert's bulwark and two further gun battery placements within the gun tower itself. Peter Carew actually threw out all of the town's officials from the castle and seized back control of himself. However, this went to court with the Crown later seizing back control for the nation's defences. In 1597, with the threat of a further Spanish invasion, Lambert's bulwark here at the Fort Alice was further substantially repaired, and it was noted that when the Spain's officials came over on a recce run and noticed that the inhabitants of the town were very, very military type, and that the harbour was very substantially prepared for an invasion towards the harbour. At the outbreak of the English Civil War in 1642, Dartmouth sided with the parliamentarians, and there were substantial defences to protect the town from the royalists. Above where I'm sat at the moment, there is a large substantial hill called Gallants Bower, which we'll possibly look at in a future vlog if time allows. This was then also fortified with further the defence works on top of the hill, and a lot of those earthworks still remain. At the start of the 18th century, the castle was in a parlour state of repair. Parts of the masonry were actually falling off, and the brickwork was very, very poor. And the 1715 survey said that the castle was no longer fit for purpose. But in 1741, further threats from France reopened the castle again, and the castle was brought back into full use again, and it was up and running quickly as by 1748. By the end of the 18th century, Dartmouth as a port had begun to decline in terms of trade, and Plymouth was beginning to take over, but the castle was still used for accommodation and storage. During the Napoleonic Wars in the 19th century, Dartmouth Castle was again used, although it didn't see any active action. Before the start of the First World War in 1909, the War Office actually considered Dartmouth Castle to be obsolete, and it was again taken out of use. But it was pressed again into use just before the Second World War, when it was used for civil defences around the town and to protect the town from both the 14th century gun tower and the later addition of the 19th century gun battery are now protected by English heritage and are Grade 1 listed buildings. Now we're heading away from the castle itself up towards Gallants Bower, and if you remember in the commentary earlier on, this is the site of substantial fortifications, and we'll have a look at those and the spectacular views from across the top, so why not join me? Now, I did some filming at Dartmouth Castle yesterday. I've come back this afternoon on a much brighter day, and in my haste I forgot to pack my walking boots, so I'm just walking in the shoes and just finding this track a little bit muddy at the moment. And you catch me on the afternoon before a job interview that I've got down in the St Austell this evening, so I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. Also just purchased a furry for the Rode microphone that I have on this Canon, and hopefully there'll be some improvement in well, not so much wind noise, but thankfully today anyway it's a much quieter and calmer day than when I was filming down at Blackpool Sands, and indeed when I started filming here a few days ago when I got absolutely soaked in a storm. Starting to gain some considerable height. You can actually hear a pecker over in the distance. I don't know if the microphone will pick that up, but we'll see how we go. Now we're just coming through to the site of Gallants Bower, and the earthworks just come into view. Once we get into late spring, this location, it's a stunning spot for bluebells, but we can actually see starts of spring life here at the moment. And it's certainly worth a climb up here. There are the battlements which were devised around the time of the English Civil War. But aside from that, we're rewarded with a fantastic view across Dartmouth, and we'll just have a look at that over this spot over here. I think there's a better viewpoint through the trees just down along this narrow path. I should just be able to make out through the cedar tree there the Naval College, which we saw on vlog number 1. boundary on the hillside, but obviously Gallants Bower is a much more strategic position, which befits its military background for the ramparts here. And the town you can actually see there isn't Dartmouth, that's actually Kingswear, which we'll look at a future vlog. Timelink's actually a very interesting town with some wonderful large properties, some with again with very interesting history and backgrounds to them. Okay, so we'll just make our way over towards the ramparts, looking at that walk around, and then back down the hill towards the castle area. Now the tall tower you can see front centre of the frame at the moment, and right in the middle is the Kingswear Daymark Tower, and I believe that was built in the mid 19th century, and it was built to be a beacon, basically a navigation really. So it was a pre-GPS invention. They were able to fire, so I don't know if you can see there's like 3 slatted holes near the base. So they could build a bonfire in that, and ships could see that to warn them about the dangerous rocks which are around this location. And there's actually one just to the right there, I don't know if you can make those out, some jagged rocks there. There's ones a bit further around towards Brixham as well, and they've claimed lots of shipping wrecking them in the process in the past. You can also see Kingswear Castle in this location, just to the slightly to the left, at the bottom of the frame there. It was built to work in conjunction with Dartmouth Castle. And actually a bit further up I mentioned Gomeroi Castle, which is a much earlier castle, and there was a chain linking that to protect Dartmouth Harbour. You may think that was a mid 14th, 15th, 16th century thing, but it's actually brought back into use in the Second World War. There was a chain linking Kingswear and Dartmouth castles to stop any invasion from the Nazis coming up shore here and landing at this particular location. I'm just loving this tree here at the moment with the shadows that it's cast. It's got a number of ropes tied to it, so it looks like people have been using it as an impromptu swing base. But I'm not sure if it has survived. It's not looking that much sign of life at the moment. May have been hit by lightning at some point. The bark isn't looking too healthy, but yeah, there are some buds on it, so hopefully it will spring back into life again soon. But wonderful shaped tree there. Now there's a further sunken hollow this way at this location. I don't know if it's part of the original fortifications or whether it was used to extract stone, maybe for building some of the ramparts both here and just down the bank at Dartmouth Castle. I'm not sure of that. I'm just going to find a location just to sit down and just have a chat with you. Now, just before I do sit down, I just heard the steam train. I didn't know that they were actually running. They might be, this is the Paignton to Kingswear line, and they might be preparing for things to open. Obviously we've got no tourists because we're still in lockdown, but they're obviously still testing things out. Now, while it's nice and quiet here, just thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself. And you're probably thinking, who is this guy that's now launched this channel called West Country Wanderings in the middle of a global pandemic? Well, I've been a photographer for many years now. I've started off in my teens actually. I had a Kodamatic Instamatic 126. Remember that film? Little cartridge-based camera. Didn't produce terribly sharp images, really square images, none of the landscape format that we have these days, but it did me. I managed to get some good shots on it, and I remember taking it up to the Lake District on a couple of occasions with my parents, and later on I then went on to an Olympus OM30, and I used to shoot film on Kodachrome slides when I used to send them off in the little yellow envelopes. I think they went to excuse me, Paris, to be processed in the pre-digital era. I since recently purchased a Canon M50, so I still shoot still shots. I love doing that. It's a very different process, obviously, shooting vlogs to shooting stills, but I enjoy both processes, and I'm still learning loads about the video editing process, and also in terms of the audio editing as well, which is something that when you're taking still images is not a consideration in terms of background noise, wind noise, and different audio levels and tracks and music and that sort of thing. But I'm finding that really interesting learning through that. I currently work just over the river. You probably saw Kingsbury there. Just beyond that there's a town called Brixham. It's the largest fishing port in the south, on the south coast. Currently work in a supermarket there. And as I record this at the moment, I've actually got an interview for another position in St Austell over in Cornwall. I'm trying to relocate back to Cornwall to be closer to my daughter there, for long, complicated reasons. My previous background, I spent many years in the Royal Air Force as a radar technician, repairing air defence radar systems. Also worked for Marconi Radar for quite a few years, and then worked through retail, first as a store manager. Now I don't handle the stress so well in the management position, so I just work as a general assistant in the supermarket, and that's what I'm looking to do hopefully when I move to Cornwall, so I'll keep you updated with progress of that. But I'll still be producing vlogs. Obviously Cornwall's still in the West Country, so and as we come out of lockdown, hopefully I'll be able to explore a wider area as well. Thank you for watching my channel today. Hope you enjoyed the tour around Dartmouth Castle and the lovely views I managed to was lucky to see when the sun came out from the top there at Gallants Bower. Thanks also for the people that liked the video, and all my lovely new subscribers. Thank you so much. And just want to say that the next video will be featuring the small village of Ditsum. Yeah, it's pronounced Ditsum. It's actually spelled Dittisham. It's just over a couple of miles over the way in that direction, and probably in about a week or so I'll upload another video to exploring that very picturesque riverside village, which has lovely views over towards Greenway, which is Agatha Christie's former home. So look out for that. If you hit the subscribe and then the bell icon, then YouTube will alert you as soon as it goes live. In the meantime, stay safe, stay happy, stay positive, and look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care now. Bye.